Everyone in the music world agrees that scales are great and we should spend time practicing them. They teach us which notes we're going to use in which keys. They teach us where those notes are on our instruments. They allow us to practice music theory concepts like minor versus major. And my own personal favorite, they give us an easy, brainless exercise that we can use to practice some of the more technical things that we need to do to refine our playing. However, they lose their usefulness pretty quickly. As soon as you've learned a scale and can play it pretty well, there's not much more there to learn or practice. You're pretty much done. We need something better that will allow us to still practice these same notes and keys while challenging us and continuing to make us better musicians. The solution is to practice those same scales but mix up the order of the notes. See, the problem with scales is that they're too predictable and too linear. All of the notes are in a straight line, they're in alphabetical order. So when your fingers figure out the progression of one particular scale, they can kind of guess how it's going to work in the next scale and the next one. Everything works kind of the same way on most instruments. Mixing up the order of these notes gets us practicing the same notes and keys, but since everything is not in a straight line, it makes it harder to guess and it makes us think a little bit more. It makes us know exactly where those notes are in that key. Let me show you what I mean. Here are two examples that I love and use all the time. This first one is something that I call leaps in thirds. This is one of the easiest patterns that you can do, and in my opinion, it's one of the most useful. What we're going to do is we're going to take a normal scale, but we're going to play a game of leapfrog using the interval of a third. We'll start out the scale just like normal, but instead of progressing straight through, we're going to skip over the second note and go straight to the third. Then we'll come back to the second. And now we're going to skip over the third and go straight to the fourth, and we'll come back to the third. It goes something like this. We have our root, and instead of going straight up the scale like this, we're going to play the root and skip straight to the third, and then come back to the second, and then go to the fourth, and then back to the third, and then skip over the fourth and go to the fifth, and then come back to the fourth. Root, third, second, fourth, third, fifth, fourth, sixth, and so on. Here's how it looks if we do a whole scale this way. There are several different ways that you can think about this. You can say that we skip over a note and come back to it, skip over a note and come back to it. You could say that we go up 2 notes and down 1, up 2 notes and down 1. Or my favorite, you can think about these in pairs of notes. So in this case we would have G and B, and then A and C, and then B and D, and then C and E. However you do this, just go all the way to the top like you would with a normal scale and then use the same idea and come right back down. Before we move on to the second one, if this is your first time here, welcome to Music Theory for Musicians. This is what we do here. We talk about music theory concepts that you need to know to play music with other people in a way that makes sense and is easy to understand. If you like what you see here, click the thumbs up below and consider subscribing. And check out the website. We've got tons of articles, some ebooks, and videos just like this one. Now let's get back into it. This next one is a similar exercise with a similar name. This one I refer to as loops in thirds. With this one we use the same interval, but it's more melodic and more musical sounding. For this one we're going to start the same, but we're actually going to include the note that we skipped over before. And then we're going to come back to the first note for a 4-note pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1. Then we're going to take everything up a note starting on the second note of the scale. 2, 3, 4, 2. And then we take everything up a note again every time starting on the next note of the scale. So if we start on a G, the pattern would look like this. We have a G, A, B, and then we come back to our starting note of G. Now we take everything up a note and start on the A. A, B, C, A, and then we would go up to the next one and start on a B. B, C, D, B. Here's how the whole thing would look like if we did this over a G scale. These are just two examples, but I've used several others in the past. There's no magic to this though, feel free to make up your own. Remember, these are just your normal scales, we're just mixing up the order of the notes. It just needs to be a pattern that repeats, that can move up to the next note in the scale every time. It needs to be something with a consistent rhythm, and it helps if the melody to it is kind of catchy. When you're practicing these, here are some quick tips to get the most out of them. Practice these with a metronome. It's always a good idea, but the rhythm of the metronome will help you feel the pattern a little better. Accent the new starting note each time. This will reinforce which note in the scale you're on, helping you hear the pattern and keep track of where you are in the scale. Have the melody in your head and be able to sing it. This will help you catch yourself if you miss any notes along the way. Have fun with it. Create new patterns and pretend it's a song. Maybe you can even put a drum beat behind it. Oh, and don't forget to practice in different keys. Thanks for stopping by. Practice hard and we'll see you guys here next time.